Welcome to NextUp Live. NextUp is the League Apps powered community and professional development platform for youth and local sports leaders. And our NextUp Live series features inspirational people and news and happenings around the industry. So today I'm thrilled to be joined by Mike Kenney. He's the Executive Vice President at Ripken Baseball. So thanks for joining us, Mike.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, let's start with, the pandemic. It's infected all of our lives, and I'm sure the business there at Ripken Baseball as well. I know that you all have kind of, I like to call it a secret sauce of how you build a culture around baseball and wanting to provide a top-notch experience for kids. But tell us a little bit about your goals in that area and how you've been able to continue to do that through the pandemic.
Sure. Well, it really starts with the name and the family. And Bill and Cal, when they got into this business, their goal was to pass on the teachings of their father, Cal Sr., who they had the pleasure of playing underneath him as he was a manager of the Orioles early in their career. And it's something that they grew up with as him being a coach, but and they learned so much from him. They wanted to pass that on. So they started this business, which really in the early 2000s, as Cal was wrapping up his career, was centered around coaching and training and camps and clinics and things like that. And the business evolved as the popularity of baseball tournaments and travel sports started taking off. So they started to think about the business differently, but their view of always make it fun, celebrate the individual, and make it something that will be memorable for the rest of their life, and given that big league experience has never changed. So as I came onto the company, probably 6 months before the pandemic hit, I got a little taste of the brand and how we do business, and then everyone's life's changed and the way you look at your business changed. So for us, the first thing was be true to the brand. Who are we? What are we looking to do here? What do we represent? And the brand has been built up in such a way where there's such integrity behind the name Ripken that we need to make sure that we got it right, that we returned to play on our terms when we were comfortable, when we believed we could provide the best experience, knowing that nothing was 100% safe, as we're still going through this now, but as safe as it could be, given the guidelines. So really what we did is we took a step back and almost looked at it from a school standpoint. How do we educate ourselves on what exactly is going on? What are all the recommendations? So we created internal task force. We deputized pretty much everyone on the staff and gave them specific things to learn about. And then we just got back together weekly and said, okay, what did we learn? What's going on medically? What's going on legally? What are the pro sports leagues doing? What are other amateur sports leagues doing? And we just gathered information. We started looking at it, and we developed these 4 pillars that we had to go through, almost a little bit like a gauntlet. And it was medical, it was legal, it was the municipalities, because we're operating in different states, and then it was the board. To be able to take this plan to the board and say, we believe that this plan is worthy of the Ripken brand and the name, and we get back on the field. So we were shut down just for a very short time from, I guess, March, April, and May. But in 2020, June, which would be our normal kind of summer season, because we put all these different procedures in place, we took this extremely seriously. We were able to get back on the field, and we've operated the last 14 months. Wow. And, have not had, any major issues or outbreaks or anything like that. We've followed every C2C protocol. We've probably gone a step further in a few places as well to make sure that we could provide an experience, because that's really part of our name. Each one of our facilities is called the Ripken Experience at Myrtle Beach, Ripken Experience at Pigeon Forge, that we could provide an experience to families, to players, and to coaches that could give them a little sense of normalcy, even though, the world around them was not normal from what they had known. And we've operated the last 14 months doing so, provided, great memories for not only our staff, but for the families that have come and played tournaments with us. So
Well, I think that's important. Getting them out and having some sense of normalcy has been, I think, a key to helping kids maintain some semblance like you said, normalcy, but their mental health and just play and fun. This pandemic has taken a lot out of all of us, but I think sport is a place where we've been able to find that. So I think what we and you were talking a little bit off camera before, and we think it's really important that we create a culture where every kid has access to sport, and quite frankly, the power we know that comes from participation in sport, whether it's baseball or softball or any other sport. But I would want to hear from you, looking at the sports landscape of youth sports, where you think those opportunities are.
Yeah, youth sports have never been as powerful, or I guess as in need as they are now. And I say powerful from the standpoint of, you're starting to see youth sports operated more like a business as opposed to recreation. But then in need from a standpoint of, technology has changed things for the good and the bad in a child's life. And so when we look at it, and I look at this, I have 4 kids through the lens of a parent, a dad, but then also from the business side. One of the things that's interesting is the parents, and again, I am as guilty as this as anyone else, allow technology to, maybe take over the kids' activity habits more than, generations before, in terms of like, just getting outside and playing. So I think it really starts with the parent to have that commitment of making the kid go outside, even if the kid doesn't want to go outside, to explore, to run around, to jump, even whether they're playing a game or not, but just to, whether it's kickball, whether it's, playing catch, whether it's a specific sport or just riding their bike, like just exercise, just getting outside.
Our kids found free play again for the first time during the pandemic. Yeah.
Yes, very, very, very good, because it's too easy to take your device and just go like, I have everything I ever need right in front of me in my hands, and I can just do this. And, not growing up with that, we had to invent games and do different things. So it was just easier to be outside than today. So I think it starts there. I think the other thing where you look at and say, okay, well, technology can limit some kids in that regard. Like, I want to play video games, I want to go outside. It can help greatly, because training tools and the ability to find out where there's fields or sign up for leagues, or what exercise do I want to do today? I need specific baseball drills, and you can go to your device and get those. So I think that's where technology comes back in and is very powerful in the child's development. But ultimately, as we look at this, I think having friends or having playmates, whether it's at school or at home, to play and to get accustomed to sports. I think then the rec level, which we've started to see dissipate a bit and kind of turn over as the travel sport level has increased, and parents look at their kids and say, yes, I want to give them the best opportunity, so they can specialize in soccer. You can play in the rec level, or you can play on this like travel team that you're going to get better coaching and so on and so forth. And that's totally fine, and that's great. But I think to some level that has hurt the rec level, because there's not many kids signing up. So maybe the rec doesn't put as much into it. Maybe they don't cut the grass as often.
Yeah.
Maybe those uniforms aren't as sharp that the kids feel as special, as the travel kids or whatever it may be. And so I think having that layer of like playing on your own, then having rec still be to that level of like fun, competitive, instructive, like something that you're proud of sending your child to.
But a really strong, high quality sports at the same time.
Yes. I mean, again, harking back to my childhood and, years ago, rec was all we had. So rec was like kind of that elite level. And then maybe you played in an all-star team for your town or whatever it was. And it's almost like that step has been skipped a little bit and gone right to like the travel, the elite, the specialized thing. And then I think the one other thing that Cal always talks about this when we're talking about sports is diversification, going back to playing 3 sports, 1 per season, as opposed to I play baseball year round, I play soccer year round. This is all I'm going to do. I'm going to train kids burn out doing that, as opposed to like, okay, it's baseball season, play baseball. It's the winter, I'm going to play basketball or hockey or wrestle or whatever the activity is in the spring, same sort of thing. I think that diversity not only trains you better as an athlete, but also, mentally helps you as you're out and about and just, not getting burned out on like, I cannot do this hitting drill again. I need a break. So I'm just going to throw the football and run around and have fun. Like,
yeah, the majority of my Olympic sports is my world. And what we did was a study when I was at the US Olympic Committee years ago, and found that the vast majority of Olympic athletes played or were two-sport athletes in high school. And then a large percentage of them were also two-sport athletes, two or more athletes in college as well. And so one would think that if you're an Olympic athlete and you're, specializing in a particular sport, so much so that you get to the Olympic Games, that you must have specialized early. So I've taken that philosophy to both of my kids, one who's in college and one who's a rising senior in high school. And they've been multi-sport athletes their whole lives. And it made them better at both sports and better at the one that they were most passionate about.
That's fantastic. That hopefully that stat can make the rounds more to parents,
Yeah,
so they
I
can
know.
see that, because you just see the specialization of the sports, and you're looking at it's like they're 8 years old now, and you're going, wow, let them get to the next season. And it's interesting, by the time they're 10, how many of those kids are like, yeah, I don't want to play soccer anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
2 years, they burned them out. So
we're really fortunate at League Apps to have, gone into partnership with Ripken Baseball very recently, and we're excited about that. And you touched on it briefly a couple minutes ago, but I want you to dig a little deeper and talk about how you think technology and the community within the youth sports industry, and the fact that we're able to provide both that technology and a community where you're talking to other sport operators and organizers. How is that partnership, do you think, is going to help support the entire Ripken Baseball family?
Yeah, well, first off, we could not be more excited to be working with League Apps. I mean, this is something that I originally met Brian, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, and it just, instantly I was like, oh wow, we're speaking the same language here. He thinks of sports the same way that I do, and he thinks of technology and innovation kind of the same way. So this was a year and a half in the making. So we're really excited that it's finally here. We've launched. We're officially gone on sale, using the platform. So one, I wanted to say that this is something that we're extremely excited about. But from the technology standpoint and what it does to our business and youth sports, being relatively new to the industry, and again, coming from a touring and professional sports background, the ticketing world is extremely sophisticated. And, whether it's dynamic pricing or upsells or other things, I spent over 20 years working in that world and seeing how that got perfected to the point where it just, the ease of access, the confidence the consumer had in the process, just evolved to the point where it's, I don't want to certainly say it's perfected, but it's at the highest level it's ever been right now. And coming into the youth sports side, there's such a variety of need. There's the Thanksgiving turkey trot that just needs a place online to register, and they can't even think of any other bells and whistles. And then there's, other businesses like ours where we look at it and we think of it as part of the experience. Like the first place that you connect with us could be browsing our website. Yeah. Or it could be a phone call with one of our sales reps and then going in to try to register. So for us, it has to be to the level to represent our brand and part of the experience of the process. So having that front end door from the website to the registration, to have it, look a certain way and be seamless and easy to use for the coach or the parent that's registering with us is super important to us. So I believe we have that. I think the next part of it is getting to the point of the process where everything is front loaded, meaning there's no back end fees. There's no, we're going to hit you at the door. Like we look at it to say, if you're going to commit to us and your family is going to spend time at a tournament with us, because we truly believe it's a family experience, not just the player or the coach or one of the parents. We want everyone to come to these destination locations that we work out of, that the process has to be easy. We want people to know what the price is, and we don't want to hit them up for more. So whether it's, the registration, all the fees, anything that's part of that, whether it's additional upsells of buying their merchandise in advance, their hotel, their photographs, if they want that, like giving everybody this opportunity to go through and make this process like very seamless for them, but also make it front loaded. So then they don't have to constantly think about, well, how much did I spend over here or that? So League Apps has given us the opportunity to build that machine, that vehicle, where when people register, they'll have all these options and they can choose whatever they want to do. And if they want to wait and do it on site, they certainly can. But to be upfront and to make the experience smooth and easy for the consumer is what League Apps has brought to us. We want to start at the level we're at now, which we're pleased at, but grow and innovate and make it even better over a period of time.
Well, like I said, we're thrilled to have you guys on board with us, and we know that you talked about this is the baseline, this is the beginning. You're in this mode as a business, I think, where you're innovating and growing and creating new experiences. And one of those is this Ripken Select Tournaments opportunity. You want to tell us a little bit more about what's behind that and what sets it apart from across the country?
Sure. So prior to this past summer, every Ripken event that had ever been run was run at one of our facilities. So we own and operate our facilities and we program them as such. So if you come to any Ripken facility, you're only going to get a Ripken program there. And we had people descending from all over the world. I mean, we have 18 nations internationally, non-COVID years, that typically travel in and do tournaments with us because of the destinations and places that we are. But we also heard from so many families that couldn't make it to the East Coast, couldn't come to Pigeon Forge or Myrtle Beach or Aberdeen, or when we were operating at Disney, for whatever the reason, whether the tournament sold out so quickly or it was just too far to travel with their family, whatever it may be. And we kept hearing that people love the way we run tournaments. So we dipped our toe in the water and we created an experience this summer in Round Rock, Texas, which was the first ever Ripken offsite event. But what was important to us and what is different about us operating offsite than maybe some others is, again, getting back to that word experience. From the second that you speak with us to the final out, like when you get back in the car to drive home, we want the family to talk as much about the big hit or the strikeout or whatever they had in the tournament, the win, as the roller coaster they rode, the time at the beach, the like fun restaurant, the Dave and Buster's sort of thing that they did. To us, that is all part of it. It can't just be, well, here's a great baseball tournament, it's so competitive and this and that. It is truly a 360-degree family experience. So when we were looking for places, it had to meet our criteria. And one of the most important ones is the facility. Second to that is the destination. So we ended up in Round Rock, Texas, which is just outside of Austin. Beautiful, beautiful community, great recreational park, one of the best I've ever seen. And so we took the tournaments that we run and we basically cut and paste and
on the road. Yeah.
In the middle of there, took it on the road, which meant we took 15 of our staff members full-time from all different facilities, descended on Round Rock to run this tournament, to make sure that you couldn't go 10 feet without finding someone with a Ripken shirt, that if you had a question or someone just to greet you to say hello and ask you how your day's going, or can we help you with anything, we brought in, and we were fortunate because of the way that we're structured and because of our founders, Bill and Cal Ripken, are great Major League Baseball players, historic in Cal's case, that every tournament that we do, we bring somebody, whether it's Bill or Cal or somebody of that level, to speak to the coaches, the parents, and the kids, to give them part of that big league experience. Mm-hmm. So we're very fortunate that at this tournament, Nolan Ryan happens to do a lot of business at Round Rock. He is a friend of the Ripken family. So both Bill and Cal came down, and we had Cal, Bill, and Nolan Ryan address all the parents, all the kids. So when we think about what a Ripken experience is and internally, like at our existing facilities, and taking that out into the road, we've now proven that we could do that. The reviews were sky high. People had a fantastic time. Most of these teams had never worked with us before and experienced Ripken, and we could not believe how excited they were for the experience we provided. So for next summer, moving forward, we're now taking that and we're going on the road even more. We're going to end up in at least 6 different locations. We're going to end up in Colorado. We're going to end up in Illinois. We're going to end up back in Round Rock, Texas. We're going to end up in Arizona. We're going to be at a couple places in Florida. And we're looking at a few other locations to take a Ripken brand and Ripken experience tournaments all the way across the country, so people will have a destination within driving distance of them if they want to experience what Ripken is all about.
Yeah, it sounds like an operational challenge, but one that you are definitely certainly up for.
For
so,
sure.
We talk about NextUp as a brand that we're using for our content and professional development, and this NextUp Live, obviously. But it's a question that we ask everyone at the end of this little segment, and we want to know what's up next for Ripken. And it sounds like taking Ripken experience on the road, but is there anything else you're thinking about and innovating at this time?
Yeah, given the amount of time I spent at home, like everyone else over the last 18 months, it gave us a lot of time to think about the business, and in addition to personal self-reflect. But from a business standpoint, where are we, where we want to go? And so the planning process has led us many different directions. So when you ask what's next up for us, in addition to growing Ripken Selects and taking that across the country, we're looking at more facilities. We're looking at potentially additional sports to start to look at, because we're extremely proficient at running baseball, but we're also proficient operators. So we look at taking our experience and putting that together with other sports that are out there. And there's a few emerging that we have our eye on right now that we think could be a good fit for our model of what we do. In addition to that, getting back to improving the experience that we have, we're looking at ways to better entertain the families while they're on site, but then also ways to give them more information that can benefit them from a training standpoint in advance and after they leave. So, online training, one of the things that we're starting to look at now is mental health and how to help kids at a young age. That is something that is now finally coming to the forefront, but more so on the professional level and not as much on the youth. I mean,
it's really important for the youth as well, both from a mental performance standpoint and a mental health, more from a clinical standpoint, to be able to identify those opportunities when they exist.
Yeah, so we're starting to look at that and trying to see if there's a way that we can do it where it is authentic and right. Certainly we're not experts, so we would be working with others to do that. So we're thinking about that. And so we're also looking at how do we grow our merchandise business. We've had great success with our new logos and new designs. So we're looking at ways to grow that. So we're really thinking about our business. How do we improve what we do with our core, but then also how do we add to it? Because it seems like there's a lot of demand for the Ripken brand, the Ripken experience, and now the Ripken merchandise. So that's really where we're focused for next year and beyond.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for joining us. And for anybody who wants to know more about Ripken Baseball, ripkenbaseball.com, please visit their website, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.